Today in the Diz List, we discuss Nick's recent trip to Walt Disney World. Part 1, The Good.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 58, where we discuss Nick's most recent trip to Walt Disney World, Part 1, The Good.
That means there must be some bad and some ugly in there.
Oh, there will be. That's Part 2.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, so that's okay. Before we get to the list and talk, or well, not even a list today, really.
Yeah,
but before we get to the discussion, I just wanted to say, you can go ahead and follow us on Instagram at dislistpod, Twitter at dislistpod, Threads at dislistpod, TikTok at dislistpod, Threads at dislistpod. If this sounds like a trend, it's because we are at dislistpod everywhere, even at www.patreon.com/ you guessed it, dislistpod.
It's good branding.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is because we hit a pretty big milestone before I left Florida. My last partial day in the parks, that morning, we hit 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. So thank you. If you are following us on Instagram, thank you so much.
Yeah, you were part of that number, and we really appreciate it.
If you're not following us on Instagram, the question would be, why not?
Yeah, get with it, people. Come on.
I did some cool lives and some updates while I was there.
You did a lot. I'm very impressed.
So every day I tried to do some updates, and
Yeah.
I posted some stuff while I was walking around the parks, the stories.
That was good.
I definitely dropped the ball about marking them as highlights, so I'm going back into my archive of stories to do it. It's hard to remember to do all of that stuff when you're also trying to have fun with your family. But I did want to say thank you to everyone who follows us and made that a special day. We got to get our buttons. I picked up an I'm celebrating button for Rob, and I wore one around the parks that day as well.
Yep,
So
we got it right here in the studio now. I'm celebrating Diz List 1000.
Yeah, it was great. So thank you very much. I just wanted to point that out. So thank you. And hopefully we can get some more followers. And if you are following us on Instagram, tell your friends to follow, or at least tell your friends to listen, because that's what we really want them to do.
Yeah.
Is so they can hear the wonderful content that we enjoy producing.
So I've really been looking forward to this, and I know kind of the general gist of what you did, because if you haven't listened, you can actually, or watched rather, if you go back on Instagram, we went live pretty frequently. I mean, you and I did maybe 3 or 4 times, and you did every day for sure.
I did every day except for my last final day.
And there were quite a few updates in there, and we're going to cover it in the show too. So if you want a little bit extra, feel free to go back in and do that. But we're going to kind of cover a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And I would text with you every day just about little things. So a lot of this is going to be new to me. A lot of these stories I'm going to be enjoying with the listeners for the first time. But, you know, I know a little bit of what you did here and there, but I think overall you would say it was pretty good trip. And I know we're going to have a bad and an ugly, but you would say overall you had a good time.
Oh, it was a great trip.
Great.
Very good.
Good. And wife and kids had fun too?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
I texted your wife at one point and just said, I talk to your husband every day. How you doing? She said, she's real busy, but things are going well.
Yeah.
So I was happy to hear that too. So let's start with just a couple big picture things for people who maybe were busy this week or didn't follow along on Instagram. Where did you end up staying when you were there?
I was at Bay Lake Tower, which is the DVC property adjacent to Contemporary Resort.
And that's the one where you can walk to the Magic Kingdom, correct?
That is correct.
Did you do that?
I did multiple times.
Great.
Almost. We only had 3 technically park reservations for Magic Kingdom, but like 1 full day park reservation because we knew we could walk. So I think we walked over there. I walked over there 5 or 6 times.
So as far as like real world measurement here, if we're going by soccer field, football field here, 100 yards, how many? 30? 50?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot further than you might imagine. I would say it's slightly further than Beach Club to World Showcase.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more, I would say, along the lines of Boardwalk to Hollywood Studios. I'm not sure on that. It's like a 10-minute walk.
But doable for kids.
Oh, absolutely. It is not a rough walk. It's just, you're walking and it's 90 degrees out.
Right.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, and when I say kids, I mean your age kids all the way up through my teens.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an issue. I would say it's maybe, like I said, 10 minutes, so maybe a quarter mile, maybe if that. And that's to get to the not to the gate. Front gate, but to get to the security.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So in Bay Lake Tower, that is to the left of the A-frame building for listeners who are familiar with the A-frame building.
As you're looking at it from the front and not from the lake, correct?
It's to the left. Okay.
It is actually closer to Magic Kingdom than the Contemporary or the A-frame building.
So that leads me to my next question. Your room was 5th floor, am I right?
No, my room was 3rd floor.
3rd floor.
But you have to go to the 5th floor to walk to the Contemporary Resort's 4th floor. It's confusing, I know.
Okay.
5th floor. So 5th floor of Bay Lake Tower has what's called the Skyway Bridge or Sky Bridge?
We were talking about that with our friend the other day.
And the Sky Bridge connects, the 5th floor Sky Bridge from Bay Lake connects to the concourse, the big giant concourse in Contemporary Resort, which a lot of people think is the lobby. It's not.
No.
But like that area there, which is technically the 4th floor of the Contemporary.
Right. Where Chef Mickey's and Fantasia.
Mickey's, Outer Rim, Fantasia, all the shopping. There's Contempo Cafe is right there. Yep. Your
room faced, I'm not trying to be, I like using north, south, east, west. Yeah. Your room was facing north, correct?
So
you're on the north side.
We were on the north side.
You could see the lake, and you could also see Space Mountain and part of the castle. Is that right?
If you were to split the difference between a theme park view, so Bay Lake Tower is circular or semicircular. It's a C shape. That's the best way to describe it.
Okay.
We were on the outer rim, so the outside of it. And if you were to split the difference between facing the lake and facing the theme park, we were right in the middle.
Okay.
We were a standard view room, but we were on the 3rd floor, which was the highest we could get of that view. And that view afforded us actually seeing both the park and fireworks, because obviously fireworks shoot up a lot higher. We couldn't see the castle very well from our room. You could see Space Mountain perfectly.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you could see Tron, and then you could see the lake.
So last question, because this stuff is interesting to me. Hopefully it is for our listeners too. If you're looking down from above, and we're looking at that letter C, and we're aligned with the regular map where north is north, and we put a clock over top of it, and north is 12 o'clock, and south is 6 o'clock.
I mean...
Are you 11 o'clock? That's where I'm picturing in my head. Or are you all the way over to 1?
No. So
you were more 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. If I'm looking at it straight, like from bird's eye view, I'm
correct.
So yes, correct. Yeah. I was in, I don't have a problem telling people what room I was in. I was in 7312.
That's cool.
So if you saw pictures online, we had requested 7320 using touring plans.
Great. That's pretty darn close.
And we got 7312, which is the next 1-bedroom over.
Great.
So
yeah, touring plans, the time we used it too, they were really good about getting us what we wanted.
Yeah, because it goes 7320 is a 1-bedroom. 7318 is a studio that would turn that 1-bedroom into a 2-bedroom lock-off.
Cool.
7316 is a studio. Then there's the elevators. Then it's 7314, which is a studio that turns the one I was in, 7312, into a 2-bedroom lock-off.
Cool.
So we were really close to one set of the elevators. It was actually the elevator that was the closest to the lobby. So that was nice.
How many days total were you there? Just for context for everybody.
I was there for 9 days, 8 nights.
Okay.
So we came in around 10:30. We landed. We were at Bay Lake by noon. We were in the parks by like 12:30, 1.
And you had park tickets every day, which originally when I thought about this, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he buys a park ticket every day. But
it's like $50 difference.
Correct. So what I have learned from buying tickets and using Undercover Tourist is the more days you stay, I mean, it can bring the price down to like $25 a day for a person.
Well, it's not $25, but $25 added. Yeah,
sure.
So like for us, we had initially thought, well, we're going to have a full day break and we won't go on our last day. And so we were going to take 2 days off of that 9-day ticket, and it was going to be, a 7-day ticket. And the cost differential ended up being like under $200 for the 4 of us.
That's awesome.
And when it's under $200 for 4 people total, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, because we knew that, we can walk in, we can walk back out. It makes it a lot easier, because even if we took a Disney Springs day, we wanted to be able to go in the park if we had taken one. We didn't go to Disney Springs. Spoiler alert, in case you were going to ask that later. But.
Well, and it makes sense numbers wise, and my wife and I, when we're planning, we always try to say, okay, what's going to be best for us? But looking at that amount, if you're staying for that amount of time, it actually is a really good deal.
Well, and I think the issue is too, when you're staying at Bay Lake and you can walk to Magic Kingdom, it doesn't make sense to not have one, because we could have decided that. Very perfect example. One of the nights we decided we wanted dinner somewhere, and there was a reservation in Magic Kingdom. So
you went over and got Skipper Canteen.
Yeah.
One of our favorites.
Yes, it was good.
Okay, so we're going to take a break here, and we're going to go to our halftime show in a second, and Nick's going to let us know who's bringing us our halftime show today. But this first part, I wanted to get just kind of an overview of where Nick was, how many days he was there, and we sort of did the opposite when I went out to California. So I'm going to kind of guide Nick with some questions. We're not going to do a list like we normally do this week, because we just kind of want to hear kind of what's going on in the parks, and I want to hear what he did, what was cool, what was fun, and then obviously we'll do another episode with, we'll put it this way, things that Disney could do better. So what was bad, what was ugly.
I have a few of them. Yeah, I do have a few of them.
And honestly, like, you can look at that like, oh, it's just a downer. But honestly, people people listening are going to go, okay, I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to take this advice that I've learned from this podcast and avoid this or that on my next trip.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that takeaways that
I wanted to say that up front too, for people that are thinking of maybe skipping that one. Look at it as a learning experience.
Well, and the other thing is it's important, I feel, to be completely transparent instead of being, there's a lot of Disney outlets that you could choose to get your information from, and many of them kind of just sugarcoat everything and don't want to talk about the bad.
And I'm good with it for that reason.
Look,
you got to learn.
They're not giving us free stuff. I don't feel bad about telling stuff that's wrong. So.
But I'm happy to take free stuff if you're listening, Disney. I'm more than happy.
I would prefer they just listen to what went wrong and fix it.
Yeah, that's true too. All right, so who we got the halftime show today?
So this halftime show is going to be brought to you by Lindsay G. She's one of our loyal patrons. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for following along and listening all these months since you've joined our Patreon. And if you want to become a Patreon member, you can go to www.patreon.com/dislistpod, and you too can get early access to new episodes as well as bonus content. So thank you, Lindsay G. We appreciate it.
We will be right back. Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or your computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start recording today. Then distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&A and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in various ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Welcome back to episode 58. Today we're going to discuss my recent trip to Walt Disney World. I was there for just long enough, I feel. Like, it was not, I didn't overstay my welcome, but it was getting to a point where I was like, I want to sleep in my own bed.
Yeah.
It just really was.
So, I don't blame you.
So, yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of stuff we did. But I'm going to let you kind of drive this car today.
So the only question I didn't get to in the first half, because I think we were getting a little long, and it didn't necessarily go with kind of the overview with where you were staying and how long is. Did you go anywhere else besides the parks?
So I did not go to Disney Springs.
Okay. Did you go to any other resorts? I know of one. I know of two.
We went to every resort on the monorail loop.
Gotcha. For food, which
yeah.
You could talk about that now.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about
because I'm going to go through park wise and go through everything in each park. So let's start with that. You went food? Yeah, Narcoossee's was the first one, right?
No.
What one was first?
So we started with Citrico's.
And that's also in
Grand Floridian.
And so is
Narcoossee's.
Okay.
So we ate at two restaurants that were at Grand Floridian. 2 table service restaurants. We ate at Citrico's and Narcoossee's, and that is because I refuse to eat at California Grill when it's got the prefix thing going on.
Yeah, you've talked about that. I think that's fair. And also part of a great thing about a vacation and going to Disney is, and especially being on the monorail, is that you can easily get to any of those resorts. Even though your technical home resort was Contemporary, don't you feel like it's so easy to zip over? And
I'm glad it was, because I'm going to tell you, outside of California Grill, now we didn't eat there, but outside of California Grill, Contemporary has not got a lot going on food-wise.
Right.
So, anyway, we went over to Grand Floridian.
Yep.
We ate at Citrico's.
What's its main style?
Citrico's is more of a... So if Narcoossee's is the seafood, Citrico's is more the steakhouse kind of stuff.
Okay, good. This stuff's important too, because I know the names of these places, but I don't know enough to know like the style of restaurant.
Think Mediterranean. Okay.
For Narcoossee's.
No.
For Citrico.
Citrico's.
Narcoossee's is seafood. Citrico is more Mediterranean.
Yeah, for the most part. Like,
okay.
So we had some really. It was good. It was very good. After that meal, it became number 2 on my all-time table service.
Wow.
It didn't last because then we ate at Narcoossee's.
And that bumped to 2 or that bumped to 1?
Narcoossee's is 2. Topolino's is still 1.
Okay.
Narcoossee's would be 1 if it wasn't as loud.
I thought we weren't going to do a list.
I'm not.
You just did.
Narcoossee's.
No, I like this.
Narcoossee's it's a little bit loud, but the views. So you're right out on the water. The views were great. The food was phenomenal. The service there was. So the service at Citrico's was very, very, very good. The service at Narcoossee's was phenomenal.
Do you feel like you got to wear a polo when you go there? Because I know there's the one restaurant where it's got to be shirt and tie.
Shirt, tie, jacket.
That's
Victoria and Albert's.
Victoria and Albert's. That's the
You're paying $400 for a meal.
Right. That's the highest of the high class in all of Disney.
It's literally $400 per person. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that's literally that. It's $325 per person if you want to drink just plain tap water. Then if you want to have the wine pairing, that's $125 extra. Holy crow. If you'd like to have a cocktail, those are like, but I will say it's something on my bucket list. But like it's fancy. And that's the one that's located. So like when you check into Citrico's, the Victoria and Albert's is right there. I took pictures just to make myself feel fancy. We did dress up, relatively. We wore polos or button ups.
Sure.
To both Citrico's and Narcoossee's, but there were definitely people in there who were not dressed up.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of culture these days.
I mean, there were people in there with little kids who were not like my little kids. Like, not that my kids are little, but like there were kids in there. I'll say this because it's not going to come up again in our bad and ugly episode. If your kids can't sit through a nice dinner without having their laptop or their device or your device in their hands, don't bring them. It was distracting. Okay, it was to a point of distraction. And if there are listeners here who are annoyed with me saying that, I'm sorry. Bring your kids to a different place.
Yeah.
There are plenty of places you could go to that are table service that's not an issue.
Yep.
Narcoossee's and Citrico's ain't it.
Right.
Not only that, but it can't be fun for you. Because all it screamed to me is these are two parents who are only thinking about themselves.
Yep. The digital babysitter.
They're only thinking about themselves. They don't care about their kids. Their kids eating chicken fingers at Citrico's. Right? I mean, they're literally eating quick service quality chicken fingers at Citrico's and paying $30 for it. the food was phenomenal at both places. Cocktails were great. Wine, I didn't get wine. My wife got wine at both places. Both of the selections that she had a Chardonnay at Citrico's. She had a Cabernet Sauvignon at Narcoossee's. Both were spot on.
Great.
Very, very good. Perfectly suggested. It was great. It was very good.
I wonder where they get it from.
Well, one of them was...
We're spoiled because we live in Western New York where, the Finger Lakes and Finger Lakes wine.
So as a wine person...
I'm used to it.
we're not spoiled with... We're spoiled with white wine. We're not spoiled with red wine.
That would be
California? California,
Napa
Oregon. Valley? Napa Valley, certainly. Australia, New Zealand. But either way, the wines were good. The cocktails were phenomenal at both places. So it was really a good experience at both of those.
So you ate there. You had a meal at...
I went over to Polynesian because this was the night that we had a rain out at Epcot. We went over to the Polynesian because I was like, I want to kind of feel at home.
I don't remember where you ate there.
Tambu Lounge, which is the lounge outside of Ohana.
Gotcha, because you can get a lot of the same things from the Ohana menu.
You can get pretty much all of the appetizers. So we got wings, so you can get the sticky wings that are inside. We didn't want those. We wanted, and I know you're gonna roll your eyes when I say this. We wanted buffalo wings. Nobody calls them buffalo wings here, but
we just call them wings.
Yeah,
because we're in Buffalo.
Yeah, so we wanted wings. So we got real wings, and served with ranch. Ugh.
What is wrong with them?
Yeah, I don't know.
Listeners, if you're not from our Western New York area, chicken wings go with blue cheese. That is just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And ranch
goes on your salad. Or
I am shocked whenever you ask. I would say 95% of Buffalonians would say that, and everyone else is wrong.
If you get west of Syracuse and they ask you if you want ranch or blue cheese and you say ranch, you're getting judged.
See, that's what's crazy too. Not to get too much on an aside, we went, if you're following along live, I was at the Bills practice the other day at the stadium.
Yeah.
We tried to go live. It was a disaster. I couldn't hear a word, and I'm sure it was loud. And
it was really loud.
Yeah, I'm sure it was awful. I apologize. Anyway, I just thought it'd be funny. So we go to Mighty Taco, which is a taco joint that has these buffalo-style tacos. They're called Buffitos, but I could not believe this happened. So my son ordered it, and they said, would you like blue cheese or ranch? They give you the choice of ranch in a Buffalo restaurant.
Yeah.
I just found that crazy.
Yeah, so either way.
That's an option?
Yeah. So either way, they gave us ranch. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I didn't
we're
eat them.
getting in the weeds.
Yeah, I didn't eat them with that. So I had the wings. They were really well done. When I say well done, I don't mean overcooked. I mean they were well cooked.
Good.
And then we had the noodles, which everybody loves, Ohana noodles. We had pot stickers, which I forgot that they give you because I've ordered them there, sitting by myself at that lounge before. This bowl full of pot stickers is a meal in and of itself.
Wow.
It was, if there weren't 15 pot stickers in this bowl, there wasn't one. They must have been
just real full, because when I've ordered them before, it's just an appetizer for the most part.
No, you've been to Tampa? No.
In general, with pot stickers.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying they must be pretty full.
Yeah, there was a lot. They were huge. So we did that on that night. That was just kind of getaway from just didn't want to be at Bay Lake. And the food didn't really, make us want to go and eat something that was quick in Bay Lake, but we knew we could go to the lounge. We didn't really feel like going up to California Grill Lounge, so that was the best way to do it.
So do you want to talk about Chef Mickey's now or on the bad episode?
Chef Mickey's wasn't bad.
Right, the food's not great, but do kids have fun?
Yeah, I'm not sure character dining is for us anymore.
Sure.
And I don't mean it because my kids are getting to a certain age. I mean because this will... So I'll give you a preview of the bad and ugly. Character interactions at restaurants were not good this time.
All right, we'll get back to that. We're gonna put a bookmark there.
They were not good.
We'll come back to that. So. I'll reference that in our future episode. Yeah. So, any other place you went specifically before we get to the different parks and where you went in the parks?
No, we didn't do Disney Springs this time. We had considered going over there one night when we were looking for dining. We were leaving Animal Kingdom, and I was like, hey, there's an opening over here. We just decided to go back and relax. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's start next door for you there. Let's start with Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
The first thing I'll go through is let's see how Tron was. Tron falls on the good list?
Tron was... So I experienced Tron in two ways. I experienced Tron... My daughter did not want to ride Tron on the bike.
Oh, right. So you sat in the one of those back cars.
So I sat in the back car that's like the accessible car.
So what is the seat like if you're not leaning forward in a bike?
Straight up regular roller coaster seat.
Okay.
With the exception that, like, you know how Big Thunder has like the... They're not Big Thunder. Seven Dwarfs has like the ridge in the middle that like makes you feel like you're kind of like squished in a little bit. It's a little bit like that. It's a little bit... I mean, it certainly is not a bench seat, but it by no means was it uncomfortable. It was a good ride. You
did it twice?
I did Tron 3 times.
Great.
Did once in the back. That was cool because you could see all the lights.
That was the first time.
That was the first time. So I'll echo what Ear Scouts Rob had said on one of his episodes about how he likes riding in the back seat rather than the front because you can see all the lights.
Oh,
you can
okay.
see
instead of leaning forward.
When you're inside, well, because I experienced the very front row, the very back row, and in the middle. That's what I experienced. The back row was cool because you could see all the lights. Now, the front row, the very front row, was cool because there was nothing in front of you, and the wind is just
like you're
whipping.
Flying.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
And then in the middle is kind of the best of both.
Uh-huh.
It's a fun ride. It is short.
That's exactly what my daughter said. My daughter went on it last week, and she said the same thing.
It's short, but it's fun.
Yeah.
If you are good on the draw, like I am, you can get a return time that is early enough that it's a walk-on.
Sweet.
So I do want to touch on what happened the first day. So the second 2 times I rode it, it was walk-on because we got 14 and number 1 for boarding groups.
You sent me a screenshot. You got boarding group 1 for Tron.
Yeah.
Jeez, how'd you do that?
Yeah. So the day that we were leaving, we had a park reservation in Magic Kingdom. So we're sitting in Buffalo Airport. 7 o'clock hits. I hit the button, doing all the things. And I look, and I have a return time for like 9:45. Well, clearly, I'm not making a 9:45 return time.
So did you cancel and then...
So get this. Yeah. I said, I have to cancel this. And I say to my wife, get ready. Keep hitting refresh. So I cancel. She kept hitting refresh. Got done. We had time. This is how unpacked the parks are right now.
Wow.
I had a return time. I deleted it, making us all eligible again. My wife rebooked it. We had a return time. And unfortunately, that return time was conflicting with
your meal reservation.
And like sometimes, like with Guardians of the Galaxy, for instance, it creeps up, and like you're usually okay.
Yeah.
This was not the case. This was one that was like fluctuated forward 10 minutes, then back 5, then it was up 5, then back 10. So by the time we needed to leave the parks, or like we were within an hour of needing to leave, I knew like we weren't going to be able to ride because we were going to be at Citrico's. So I went to a guest relations person.
Smart. People listening know to do this. If something doesn't work for some reason, or like Nick's situation, they are so helpful. Yeah. Listen to this story.
So I just went to a Blue Umbrella. You find that Blue Umbrella guest relations person. And I said, hey, here's the situation. I have a dinner at Citrico's. And she was like, well, okay, well, you know what you can do? Because you guys, where are you staying? And I said, we're staying at Bay Lake. She's like, well, that's perfect. You can walk over. She's like, you just go to Citrico's, you get your meal, and you have your receipt. And when you come back, you can show that receipt to the person, and they will totally, like, let you on anyway.
Great.
I was like, cool. She's like, you're going to really enjoy Citrico's. Don't worry about it. Like, take your time. Don't stress. And I was a little bit bummed because I was like, we're tired, right? We got up at 3 a.m. I don't really want to come back after Citrico's. So in my head, I'm thinking, whatever, we just don't get to ride today. Then she looks at me, she's like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, my brain must be fried because it's so hot. Give me your magic band. So like she taps my magic band, and she's like, okay, refresh your tip board. So I refresh it, and she's like, now your lightning lane is good for the whole day.
Wow.
Or not lightning lane, virtual queue.
Jeez.
So I was like, wow, thank you so much. So Gwen, thank you.
That's great.
But that's when we wrote it the first time. So shout out to a really good cast member interaction. But you never know. It never hurts to ask. This is what's going on.
But don't demand. Not that you did that.
No, I did.
We see a lot of that. Say, I demand, I deserve, I want.
Yeah.
If you have a nice conversation with these cast members and just tell them what the situation is.
I was like, look, this is the situation. Like, I understand you might not be able to do anything for me. It's my own fault. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. But, like,
that's the right way to go about it.
This is the situation. If you can do something for me, great. If you can't, totally cool. Have a nice day.
Yeah, and I think it would have worked out for you even if she hadn't have done that. And that's nice that she did. But, you come back with your receipt. You say, here's when my reservation was for. And, you're giving Disney extra money. So more likely than not, they're going to go, okay.
Yeah, in the end, it was good. It was
so great. You rode it 3 times, 3 different positions on the car. So the one in the back, you said you could see the lights better. The front was the most fun. What do you think?
I would say definitely riding on the bike is more fun. Equal. I will say that as long as you're on the bike, it was equal.
All right. Anything else rides-wise that was different than stuff we've talked about?
I rode in the
more exciting on Magic Kingdom?
I rode Guardians in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was definitely whippy and definitely caused some issues with some members of my party as far as motion sickness.
Usually we shoot for the middle, right? Isn't that what we were told? Try to go in the middle of that, right?
Yeah. I only rode it once. I had a virtual queue the second time. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But that ride is so cool. And
it was great.
You had Disco Inferno.
Yes.
My daughter did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked her. Yeah. And I haven't had that. I've ridden it 3 times. That wasn't one of the songs I've gotten. So I want to collect them all. I want to be able to.
I think that's a really smart thing that they've done. So.
Yeah, I think so too. Mm-hmm. Got to be able to collect all that stuff. So that's pretty much it for rides. Everything else. You went in Haunted Mansion.
Yes,
and I did not you were there.
So I was there, and
my daughter was a day. That's interesting story. I don't mean to cut you off, but I didn't tell you this yet either. So the day my daughter was there, she went with friends. We didn't go as a family. My daughter went with a friend. For our listeners here, she went the day we went to see Haunted Mansion, the movie. So she was literally on the ride the same time we were watching the movie at the drive-in.
That's funny.
She was there, and everything was open, and everything was normal. By the time you got there, 2 days later?
But it wasn't.
A day later?
Yeah, so...
They put a curtain in front of the candelabra hallway.
They didn't, though.
They didn't?
No.
Isn't that the place where they're talking about putting
so it was up at times. It was not up when we rode. It certainly wasn't up it may have been up when we rode it the first time, where it took literally, and I'm not exaggerating, 40 minutes to get from the stretching room and then off the ride.
That's crazy. It's good news, bad news. If you love being in the Haunted Mansion, it's cool, but
it was
you want to ride your ride and get going.
Trust me what I'm saying. Going 5 feet and stopping for 3 minutes was not fun.
Yeah, that does suck.
This was not. I'm taking somebody off who has a DAS pass. This is not somebody who struggled getting on. That's not what was going on. This was every 5 feet stop for 3 minutes. It was awful.
I wonder why.
I don't know, but it was awful. Anyway, I digress. I then rode it with my son on a different night, later at night. So during extended hours. And that was a normal ride, didn't stop once. And I know for a fact, because I was paying closer attention that time, the candelabra hallway was not roped off.
That's weird, because you and I were texting about that too, because I was really curious.
Yeah.
And I know...
I tried night exposure when I was on the ride a long time.
Without the flash, obviously.
Without the flash. Just to try the night exposure to let stuff in, and I couldn't, because we were stopped for so long. You could do a full 10-minute exposure or 10-second exposure.
Wow, jeez.
And you're not moving, so you can be able to let all the light in as you can. But yeah, I legitimately didn't notice it. It is now closed. We were
today,
right? We were gonna ride it yesterday morning, but that was not possible because I was not waiting in the line for the people who wanted to ride it one last time without Hatbox.
Right.
Because it was like 75 minutes.
Jeez.
And it was every bit of 75. Okay. Like it was, I'm telling you, it was backed up way past the Liberty Bell. So.
So let's skip to food here. You did Skipper Canteen.
I did do Skipper Canteen. Yep.
That was a surprise
restaurant. one. We hadn't planned on it. That was
that's one of my favorites. It's the top for me.
That was one of those. We left Animal Kingdom. We're like, what do we want to eat? What do we have in the refrigerator back in the room? What do we have, in Bay Lake? What do we have in Contemporary? And it was like, there's an opening at Skipper in like 2 hours. Let's go eat at Skipper Canteen.
Great. That's fun.
So it was great.
That's cool.
And we got the butterfly table.
Oh, no, yeah. You sent me a picture of that. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Should we talk about this turkey leg?
I mean, I ate it. I ate it, I took about 5 bites. And
in your video, like
that was when my wife was like, we're not filming anymore. You don't have to finish that. And I was hungry. And I was like, thank you. I'm done. Like, I can't. She's like, I'm not going to tell anybody. There's no way I could have.
The video's great because it's such a Nick moment because you did it and you always follow through with these things and you did the very end. If you go through and watch, and I rewatched it like multiple times, you're like, there you go, Rob, and you do this eye roll, and I'm like, oh my god, it was so funny. I played
awful.
It over and over again.
It was not good.
So listeners, go watch that video. Watch Nick's eye roll at the end of it. It's hilarious.
I did what I said I was going to do too. I put mustard on it at one point, and it made it mildly better. I'll tell you this: it was not as salty as I expected it to be.
Sure.
It was more rubbery than I expected. Like it was as bad as the very first turkey I ever smoked. Now I do a lot of smoking of meat.
Yeah, you do.
This was like. If I had negative experience smoking meat, that's how badly smoked this was. It was horrible.
Now, I was always assuming you were getting it in Magic Kingdom, but I don't think you did based on the video. You did? Where were you? I couldn't tell where you were.
What is
There's
that?
Like a pink
Liberty,
building in the back. Oh, that's why. You were over in that
Liberty
area.
Square, whatever.
Okay.
It's the only place to get it during the day.
Gotcha.
Well, there or over at Prince Eric's.
All right.
And then in the evening after 7:00, you can get it at that other place. Yep.
Usually, I was pretty good at. I can identify
Spooky
where
Hollow
you are.
Or whatever.
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow. There we go.
Right.
Yep.
I can identify kind of where you are based on your videos. What's behind you?
No.
Whatever buildings you were near. I think it was a pink building in the back.
You were looking at the Christmas shop.
Yes, that's it. Okay, I couldn't identify where you were.
Based on where my son was sitting at the table, you would have been looking at the Christmas shop.
Gotcha. Mm. So in my notes here, I have. Is there anything else that's you didn't do any special tours there? You did some special tours, but we'll get to those.
No.
So not a lot of new. I mean, Magic Kingdom's great. It's always fun. Any other little stories? We don't know about. You want to?
The train was running, so that was new.
Oh yeah, that was the first time you experienced a train.
Yeah, it was good.
Isn't that a great little ride?
It was a great ride.
It's relaxing.
Very relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. We picked it up in Frontierland, and then rode it to the front. So we didn't ride it all the way the full lap. Mm-hmm. We went from Frontierland to the front. The next stop after the front is back in Frontierland, so it was just been that last lap.
Yeah, it's great, and more people should use it. It's a fun little ride. I'm glad you finally got to do that.
It's a good mode of transportation as well as a good ride.
Yep. And even the wind it's nice, even if it's super hot. And I know you're getting hot wind in your face, but it's still relaxing.
Yeah, but it's better than just like sitting in the park. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we can always come back to some more things if you want to add in anything else. But I want to get to some of these other parks here. Mm-hmm. We're doing okay on time. Let's switch to Epcot. Now, I know you didn't have the greatest experience, and Epcot's your favorite park.
It is. And
a lot of things did not go well, and we'll get to Epcot more.
No, they did not.
Is there a handful of things? I mean, I won't even get into specifics. You've done the majority of the rides already, unless there was something new or different in any of the rides that you wanted to mention. We said in Guardians, you got Disco Inferno, and you rode at the back. It kind of went a little fast.
It was a little whippy. It was just more motion sickness than, not for me. I didn't experience it, but definitely members of my party did.
So let's switch to food and wine. If there's nothing you want to talk, did you end up doing? I was going to say Spaceship Earth, Mission Space.
I did not.
Okay. I think my daughter did. I forgot to ask her what she thought.
I did. So food and wine was good. I was a little disappointed in some of the selections. I definitely have like my top this and top that. I don't know if I want to go through and give a full list. What I would say is this, that there are some things that you should skip, in my opinion, but those same things, some people are rating really high. So for those of you who don't know, I met up with Ear Scouts Rob while I was down there, and we talked about food and wine a little bit. And he said, all these people are raving about such and such and such and such, and I don't think they're any good. And I was like, I didn't think they were good either. So it's just interesting that, like, we agreed that, like, those weren't good, but then, Disney Food Blog has them on Best of the Fest or whatever. So there were some things that were really good that I tried, and some things that I tried that were just duds. I'll just give a quick, like, total loser. The yuca fries from Fry Basket was absolutely horrible.
Oh, you said they were salty?
It was like they tasted like seawater. It was so salty. It was bad. And then the shocking one, which people saw me taste, was the pickle shake. The pickle milkshake was actually good.
That was a big hit. Well,
yeah.
On social media, there was like, I don't know what the current number of counts
like 2,500 views.
Oh my gosh, it did really. It was hilarious. It was great.
I describe it as drinking a vanilla milkshake, a very sweet vanilla milkshake, a very rich vanilla milkshake, while simultaneously holding a dill pickle scratch and sniff sticker underneath your nose, because it had a smell that was artificial in nature.
Okay.
I think part of what people are getting grossed out about is all psychological. That they are thinking that they taste vinegar and sour,
but they're not.
If they are, and if there is that flavor in there, then mine wasn't mixed properly, because I did not taste that one bit. I did taste dill, and I had to even question myself, am I tasting it or smelling it? So I removed that variable by taking, once it had gone down far enough, and putting the straw between my fingers, covering the top, so that I would just suck in and only taste, and then I could still taste it. So there was some dill in there, but I think they amplify it because on the top of the whipped cream, they put a couple sprigs of dill. So, and that, I mean,
how aromatic are those sprigs of dill?
I mean, have you ever had dill spontaneously grow in your yard?
No, I mean, I know what it looks like.
Because it will grow. It'll
like.
spontaneously grow just from, like, your neighbor had planted dill, and it just grows. So I have a lot of dill in my garden, and it's just one of those things. You plant it once, that's all you need to do. And they're very aromatic, very, like, more so even than mint. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So you can smell it a lot. So I did forego drinking the last quarter inch of that shake, because I didn't really feel like having a sprig of dill come up my straw.
Yeah, but and usually a lot of times the sweetest part's at the bottom.
That was phenomenal, and I'll be honest with you, the wings, flavor wise, were great. Poorly cooked,
just not cooked long enough.
They were crispy, so the outside was good, and they were done. But I'm a big fan of the one pull flat.
Yeah.
So if you're from Buffalo, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like a one pull flat, you put it in your mouth, close your mouth, pull, you've got bone.
Yep.
You couldn't do that with these. So it didn't come off the bone quite as well as it should have been. But other than that, they were good.
I wonder if it's a time thing. They want to get them cooked so quick. Because I remember I used to work at a pizza place, and I would have to, fry the wings, and there was a certain amount of time that you had, like a minimum amount of time was the standard for that pizza place. But if you wanted them extra crispy, you just put them in for like 4 more minutes.
I don't think it's that. I think it was. I don't think it was that. I don't think it was based on the consistency through. I don't think it was that. I think it may have been the chicken itself.
Okay.
So the quality of meat. I mean, but these are the first 2 wings I've had outside of the Northeast. So the wings at Tambu Lounge and the wings there. Those are the first wings I've had outside of the Northeast in probably a decade, because I don't like wings outside the Northeast.
You didn't eat wings with me last summer when we were at Polynesian?
Maybe. I just don't like eating wings outside of, just because they're usually not done well.
No, they were a little bouncy.
Yeah, rubbery.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that was food and wine.
So also at Epcot, you did Behind the Seeds tour. Do you want to talk about that now or another time altogether?
No, I can talk about that. Behind the Seeds is great. Okay.
So it's you pay extra,
$35 for an hour-long tour. You go be literally on the ride of Living with the Land. Now, the day we were on it, the ride was shut down.
What? All day?
All day.
Weird.
Yeah. So it was not. They were trying to fix something with the track, whatever.
Huh.
So people weren't riding it while we were doing it. No big deal. But we went through that behind the scenes, and a lot of cool information. Some stuff I already knew, some stuff I didn't. I don't want to spoil a lot of it just because I want people to go and do it. But I will say that it was a lot of fun.
And if it's worth the money, I think people would appreciate hearing that.
If you are somebody who's into gardening or likes to learn about those kinds of things, or living with the land is like one of your favorite attractions, because a lot of people it's one of mine. It's worth $35.
Yeah, I think we might end up doing it. I'm definitely interested in that stuff. We have crazy gardens at our house too.
It's cool to hear about like how they do what they like. For instance, there is 0 soil in that entire attraction.
That's crazy.
There's no soil. There's not soil underneath that sand. There's no soil in the entire attraction.
That's wild.
So like that's something I learned. Or like they let you scan a QR code to give you the exact mixture of chemicals or nutrients, I should say, that they use for their plants to grow the way they do. So it's kind of cool. Huh. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Definitely worth the $35.
So that's a lot of the major things at Epcot. I wanted to try to cover rides first, then the unique foods, which is obviously a highlight at this food and wine festival, and then any other things that maybe you want to mention that don't fit in a category.
Well, it kind of falls under the food category, but it also falls under entertainment. We did beer garden this time. It's the buffet in the German pavilion.
Yep, it's fun back there.
And they do a whole like little production where these guys get up and they play German polka music, but they're playing it. They play the polka music, and then they also play like different instruments, and that was a lot of fun. It was a little entertainment thing. They call people out to go and dance on the dance floor. So my daughter got out there and was dancing around.
Really? Do you have video of that?
I believe I've got some video somewhere of that. Yeah. So it was good. That was fun. I would say that also it was cool because we got to do Canada Far and Wide. I have not done the new show. I know it's weird that I hadn't, but because last year we didn't do it, and the year before that it was closed for food and wine, because a lot of times they'll close Canada Far and Wide.
It was closed when we were there, yeah.
And they have it set up for where they do they'll do maple syrup and they'll do apples and stuff like that in the back. They didn't do that this food and wine, so it was still open.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's it for Epcot.
Yep.
Hollywood Studios, you've in the past, you obviously like Hollywood Studios. We like all the parks, but was it as hot and as always, or was there any difference there? Or?
Hollywood Studios was definitely a shock for me. We scheduled one day there. We spent until about 2:30 there. It was enough time, given that Rock and Roller Coaster was down and that I was the only person who wanted to do Tower of Terror. Because of that, we didn't even have to go up in that area. I would say it was the most enjoyable experience I've had at Hollywood Studios yet.
Good. Happy to hear that.
The temperature was hot that day, but we did a good job. We kind of, instead of going 1 for 1, what I mean by that is ride with a queue and no air conditioning and all that kind of stuff, and then doing an inside show, we did 2 for 1, where it was 2 air conditionings, good. 1 ride. Yep. And I felt like that was good. It got off to a bad start because Rise was down at the beginning of the day.
Yep.
That's something I'll discuss a little bit more in depth next week. But
with how much downtime?
Yeah, but I will just say that they didn't do a good job testing ahead of time. They put us all the way through the queue and never even started the ride. Because so we were probably 40 people back. So we would have been in the first 10 minutes of the park running. We would have been in. But it is what it is. We ended up getting a lightning lane and were able to come back and ride it. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of stuff. We all 4 of us did Small Goes Run.
Good. With
a couple of people from Great Britain, father and daughter. Sorry, and it was a blast.
You got a better score, you told me.
Oh, by far. We let them be pilots.
Oh, maybe that was the key. You and I were pilots the first time.
Yeah.
You and I were Han and Chewie, and we thought we did so well. So it turns out we did horribly.
Yeah, the pilots did a good job. They didn't run into stuff, and my kids were blasters, and my wife and I were engineers. Cool. It was great, and we had a good time. So we did that. We didn't spend a ton of time back in Galaxy's Edge. We did see Mando and Grogu.
Yeah, talk about that. That's exciting.
That was cool. It was just, it's flooded, right? I wish they would do something like a meet and greet.
Me too.
Because he was flooded with people. But it wasn't, part of that is he doesn't walk around. He just comes out and just stands there. So then people like are coming out and like, so it's not like the stormtroopers are like walking around. He came out like and was just standing in this area. And there was like tons of people lined up to take pictures. And he was calling out certain people to, like, I'm going to meet with that person. I'm going to meet with that person. Like, he was pointing to the people. So it was not like who was first in line. It was like, oh, that girl's wearing a Mando shirt. Come here. Or that girl's wearing.
Okay.
So, like, I was hoping he would call on my daughter. She was wearing a Mando and Grogu shirt that day. But, I mean, he was running out of time. Yeah, I get it.
Yep.
You know?
But it's like we always say, you're going back. So,
yeah.
Next time.
I mean, not a big deal. Yeah. We did. It was a good time. We did a lot of the show. We did the shows. So we did like
Frozen.
Did we do? We didn't do Frozen.
Really?
No.
And Little Mermaid's not open.
Right. So I guess what we did like, you know, Muppet Vision, obviously.
Sure.
Can't
I love
not
that.
do Muppet Vision, right?
That's great.
And we had Genie Plus that day. So we kind of like went through and then we switched over and started booking stuff over at Epcot. Not that there's much to book over at Epcot. When we got over there, it was very apparent that like my kids were wiped and it was a hot day. Before I went to Epcot, we did stop and it was clutch because we just stopped at, it was like 10:45. We're like, we're going to Baseline. It's like,
good.
Order a beer at Baseline at 10:45.
Whatever.
It didn't bother me because it was hot and it was great. I love Baseline. There was still room inside to sit down. So we sat in the air conditioning in there. That was great. Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway was a good time.
Good.
Control your kids. Don't let them peel the walls, please.
Yeah. We want to spend some time on that in the next episode.
Yeah, same thing with the Frozen meet and greet. We did that.
Right.
That was the first time I ever met Olaf. So
where was the meet and greet for that?
It's kind of off to the side. Celebrity, was it called Celebrity Showcase or Spotlight? That off to the left-hand side of the theater.
Okay. I know where you mean.
Yeah.
As you're walking towards like Star Tours.
Yeah.
It's there on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I know where
so
you mean.
Yeah, it was good.
So we covered food. Anywhere new or fancy that you I know you like the Tap House place is a favorite of yours.
Yeah, it's a must stop.
Where did you get lunch? Anywhere?
That was our lunch.
Break
so we did. We got some.
You got pretzels there.
Yeah,
that's your favorite.
Because then we were going to Epcot and we got some food and wine stuff.
Oh, good. So you didn't really need to.
That was kind of what we did there.
And day. Nothing else too crazy at Hollywood Studios.
No,
nothing really to note. Other than some negative stuff I want to spend more time on.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Downtime.
It was good. Yeah.
Let's end with one that you had mentioned to me and online that was a real bright spot for your trip, and that was Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, Animal Kingdom, I don't know that I'll ever go back to Animal Kingdom and not spend either a day and a half or 2 days there, simply because it was so much more relaxed. When you're trying to do all of Animal Kingdom is the largest park by area, right? And so when you're trying to do all of Animal Kingdom in a day, you're going to get fried because it's so hot there.
Yep.
So what we did is we kind of split it up. We had Africa. We did the second day. The first day, I had Genie Plus. We did everything else.
Good.
We rope dropped early entry, the whole 9, on the first day. We didn't take my own advice. My own advice is go where people aren't. We bypassed that and said, hey, we're going to go to Flight of Passage.
It's funny how often the both of us do that.
Yeah.
Wear good footwear. Yeah, I screwed that up. Yeah. We got to take our own advice here.
Well, but this time it paid off. So we were in line for Flight of Passage before the park even officially opened for early entry. We were off of it just as the park was starting to open. So I figure we probably spent 30 minutes, 25 minutes in line. Then they bring you into the pre-show and all that because it's a half-hour early entry. Then we got off of Flight of Passage.
Where do you go next? Did you go to Navi?
We went to Navi River Journey and spent 10 minutes there.
Okay, not bad. Because you don't like that queue.
No, it's stupid. Yeah. There's no.
It's just it's a wicker basket that.
I don't understand. There's no theming. There was no thought put into that queue.
I just thought of that for the first time. It's like you're shrunken and somebody put you inside a wicker basket.
Yeah,
and that's what the queue
It's awful. Remember those old cane chairs? You know what I mean? The ones with the circles in them.
Yeah.
I feel like it's barriers made of those. So yeah, we did that, and then when we left there, We went and decided to do. My daughter really wanted to do Everest.
I love that ride.
And she was like, I'm going to do Everest. I'm going to be brave. And I'm going to do my hands up the entire time.
I think it's your Scouts Rob's favorite ride.
It is. It is. So she did it. She loved it. Wanted to do it again. We were going to try to do it the second day. The times were a little longer the second day. We did every ride except for 2. We didn't do Triceratops Spin. We didn't do Cali River Rapids. We did
Dinosaur?
We did Dinosaur.
Did you yell out, "Where's my," or "Not my dino"?
I didn't yell it out, but and you kind of have to you have to say it, right?
You need to say it every time you see a dinosaur. That's the fun part.
That was the first thing. That was the first time for my wife and my daughter to be on that ride.
Oh, they've never done it?
They had never done it.
What was their reaction after they got off? What the heck was that?
Yeah, what was that?
Where was Indiana Jones?
Yeah. So we did that. That was all the first day. And then we did Maharaja Jungle Trek, which we were on that trail. I swear it was just us. I swear.
Great. So you got to see the tigers?
No.
Ah. He wasn't out, or
she
wasn't out?
They were away. They were hiding. They were just too hot.
That's the highlight of...
Yeah. But I will say that the second day, that it was the best I've ever seen Gorilla Falls trail.
Great.
So they were very active all over the place. The gorillas were active. The meerkats were active. It was all very good.
Awesome.
I also wanted to point out that we did the safari on day 1, and we went. So after we had done Pandora and stuff, we go and do the safari. It was relatively early.
They're active in the morning.
Yeah, super active, which I've done. I've done morning. I've done mid-afternoon. I've done later in the evening. This was the most active I've ever seen them.
Great.
Not just like, oh, it's a good morning. Like, this was a really good morning. The lion, as we rounded the corner, our driver was like, I'm not really sure what we'll see. Blah, blah, blah,
That's
blah.
true, because it's a good day when that lion's out.
They like to sleep, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, before we see them, we hear him roaring.
Awesome.
And it's like 3 minutes straight of him roaring.
That's cool.
And us,
That's great.
As soon as we get to the edge, like where you're turning and you're like right in front of that rock.
Yep.
He like looked, yawned, put his head down, and went back to sleep. Like, I've had enough of you guys there. I did my show.
There you go.
I'm done.
I hope you enjoyed the roaring.
Yeah, it was like Alex the lion from Madagascar.
Yep.
Like, I did my show. Now let me sleep. So yeah, that was great. It was a very good time, and we did Nemo. Was great.
Yep. I talked to you right after and asked if you took a nap. You did not.
No, I like that show. I think it's great. It's Broadway quality. I think it's really good.
It is. It's very good. And it's the shorter version too.
Yeah. And then we did Lion King, Festival of Lion King, which you can't skip.
So good.
If it's open, you got to go. So yeah, that was wonderful. We stopped over at there's a little cart that sells like corn. Those of you who go to Lion Kingdom will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
So
it's on the gluten-free list.
Yeah. So the kids got a pretzel, and my wife got corn.
By the safari, right? Not too far from our favorite little hangout spot there.
Well, that's what I was just going to say as we went. So they got churro, pretzel, and the corn, while I was ordering a beer over and getting a table. So I was like basically being a scout.
Same one we had?
Not quite the same one. Close, though. It was one table in.
Because you want to watch the performers.
Yeah, watch the performers. I was dancing with the performers until I had to leave early. The day before, we had to leave because I had to go.
Oh yeah, I did that dance once too.
Dancing with them.
If there isn't video of that, I'm going to be very upset.
I don't know. I couldn't take the video. I was dancing.
I'm going to talk to your wife.
I was dancing with my daughter and my son.
It's got to exist.
And then we went to Tusker House for lunch. That was the first day. And then the next day was when we sat. It was hot, and we purposely made it so we had nothing to do the second day. What an enjoyable park just to walk around and take pictures and. We did the Moana meet and greet. Moana meet and greet was fabulous. Great. It was really good.
Where is it?
It's down.
Is it near Tree of Life on the left?
It's on. So it's on Discovery Island.
Okay.
But it's like down. It's hard to describe because it's like in a spot that I didn't even know existed. There's a sign that says Moana meet and greet, and you walk down this path, and then at the end of the path, like. There's a gate, and they let you in further, and then there's like a pavilion.
Huh.
And in that pavilion, Moana was, I didn't even know this thing existed. They must have built it specifically for her, or if at some point somebody else was there, I didn't
Someone
know
else
about
was. They switched it to Moana, and I can't remember who.
Well,
and I've seen a photo of it on one of the Disney news outlets.
But it's cool because like that's where like the river, whatever you want to call it, is right there. And like sometimes some of the characters would go by and they'd be yelling, "Hey Moana, we know you're up there," and she would take whoever she was taking pictures with and go over and wave to the characters and go right back taking pictures. It was a lot of fun. So that was kind of cool. I just like Animal Kingdom in general. It always makes me second guess what my favorite park is, just because it's that it can be that good.
It is. I completely agree with you.
When you don't have anything to do, it's that much better.
Yep.
So
it's funny. It's a very unpopular opinion to say that Hollywood Studios is your least favorite of the four, and that's me, and sometimes it's you.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. And I mean, we have some listeners who I hear from saying that you're nuts. How is it not, your number one or your number two? And it doesn't mean I don't like it. If we're doing a Diz list on parks, you and I are the same except for our 1 and 2. So my favorite is Magic Kingdom. Yours is Epcot. And we flip-flop those two. And then it's Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios for us both, which I think is fine. Animal Kingdom this time was fabulous. We did a lot of cool things. Something that I will be talking about on a Patreon episode, just to kind of give a little teaser. Oh, right. I forgot about this. This is going to be great.
We did Up Close with the Rhinos, which was our second tour that we did. Here, all I'll say is it's $45. It's an hour-long experience. It is fantastic. If you've ever watched like the behind the Animal Kingdom stuff over at or on Disney Plus, then you will absolutely love this tour.
Yeah, that show is great.
It is very limited. It was fantastic. It is the harder one to get. There's that, and there's the elephants one of the quote unquote cheaper ones. They also do like a Savor the Savannah, and they do the Wild Africa Trek. Those are like they're expensive and they're super long.
Yeah,
probably not something I would want to do unless I was like willing to give up the whole day in the park, because it's like 3 and 4 hours respectively. But I am telling you right now, that Rhino tour was awesome. And I can't share anything picture-wise with you because you are 100% backstage.
And you can't take any photos.
And I will say exactly what our tour guide said is, it's not pretty back there. He goes, 5 words, it's not pretty back there.
That's okay.
But you know what? It was kind of cool. You were backstage. You were literally back where they do it all.
That's
cool.
That
was kind of cool. A lot of fun. And I also, our first time.
Well, I want to end with this.
Yeah,
I know what you're going to say.
Go ahead.
This has been number 1 on my list multiple times on the show. I absolutely love it. So I'm a teacher. I'm an art teacher. And I love to draw. Whole family loves to draw. And I've been telling everybody in the podcast, and Nick especially, and Nick's been all about it. And I've been waiting to hear your thoughts on going out to Rafiki's Planet Watch and doing the animation experience.
I loved it.
It's great, right?
It is not ever going to be a number 1 for me, and here's why.
Sure.
I think it's fair game to let people know that if you have children or you yourself are a perfectionist, don't go. Because legitimately, children in tears in the front row of an animation
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at you. I'm not laughing at because okay. I didn't mean to laugh at your kid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that way.
So my daughter got it. He moves way too fast for a kid.
Yeah, I know.
Way too fast. So I would say unless your kid is a decent artist, if they're a decent artist, then maybe at 10. But I would say 13 or older. It was.
And you got Bambi, and we did that one. Bambi's one of the ones we've done. That one, it's a harder one. Drawing deer is not easy.
He was quick. He was great.
Yep.
He was but he's got an hour to do this in.
Yep.
Not even an hour. And like you kind of got to move, and so I understand why he was doing what he was doing.
That's funny. That's what I do for a living. I understand how you have to pace yourself.
But
with kids.
Perfectionism is not like once one thing was off, it was a freaking meltdown.
Yeah, it's too bad.
And so I would say I would recommend it with the caveat that you got to know if your kid is a perfectionist, it's not worth it. Don't do it.
Okay.
It turned into be more stressful than it needed to be. And that's not your fault. Like, it is what it is, right?
No.
Will we do it again? Sure. But we will do it again when she's older.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean this, you got one of the harder ones.
Yeah. I posted pictures.
I thought you did great. Yeah. And it's definitely a challenge to draw Bambi. As an artist, drawing the Disney characters growing up, that is definitely one of the tougher ones to draw. Yeah. Horses, deer, like that whole family of animals is very difficult to draw.
Yeah. So it was a good time. So we did have a great time out there. We did a bunch of stuff that for the first time, we did, went in back of the pavilions a lot more this time than we normally did.
Yeah.
We did the tours that we've done. So it was fun. And we ate at some really phenomenal restaurants that were really not overpriced. They were worth the money.
Good.
So it was great. I would say, stay tuned for next week's episode, because there's definitely some stuff that you need to know before you go, as far as some of the bad and the ugly. I want to point out some good stuff as well. So I know we're running long.
No, not really.
I just wanted to say
we're a little longer than normal, but go for it.
I just wanted to say that it was very cool having the international guests back at full strength.
Good.
A lot of international guests. And
what about international cast members?
Well, that's what I was just getting to, was that the international representatives, or the cultural representatives, I think they're called, at Epcot, it was great to go back into a pavilion and hear people speaking the language.
That's excellent.
Or to hear the accent. For me, going into Canada and seeing like people from...
Well, you have the accent.
Right.
They just talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick is not Canadian. He's just from near Canada.
Somebody was calling it on something the other day, Canada Light.
What is the Adirondack area up there?
When you're far
North
up
Country?
North, when you're way up north. I know, it was somebody on the Behind the Seeds store, I think.
Really?
She said, "Oh yeah, I'm from Minnesota." And she said,
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With the O and whatever. And,
they do.
And she said sorry, and I was like, I kind of laughed, and then it turned into, it's Canada Light, and I was like, yeah, for sure, eh?
Usually, I know that's usually what you follow it up with.
Yeah, so it was, but seriously though, going into the pavilions and hearing international cast members, but also seeing the number of people who are international guests, that was really cool, because the park felt more like it used to, right?
Yeah, you had texted me that there was a large percentage of the crowds were international.
Yeah, in a very good way. I don't like it was awesome.
No, and I didn't. I took it as you were just making an observation that
and it was noticeable. It was not like
great.
Like, okay, well, you just happen to be next to a couple people who spoke with a British accent or were speaking French. No, it was 100% noticeable that foreign travel is back up.
And I think that's great, because when I'm near somebody that I know is speaking a foreign language, my brain goes to, I can't wait to go to Tokyo, or I can't wait to go to, it's not Euro Disney. I said Euro Disney. Either way, Disneyland Paris. I think, man, that could be me, you know, and I would love to be in that place too. And even though, like, as huge Disney people, we sort of take ownership, because, this is the park closest to us. We have to be good about, letting everybody come in to a certain extent. Unless you're there to start fights, you can stay home. Everybody else, come on in.
Yeah. I'll just close with this. One more quick thing. If you're flying in to Orlando and you have the choice and it's not that much more expensive, or if it's cheaper, fly JetBlue. JetBlue is the only domestic that is currently flying into Terminal C.
Oh, you said it was great.
Terminal C is the cleanest airport experience I've ever had. And MCO on a Sunday at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, something like 1:30. I was in and out of security in under 10 minutes.
That's fantastic.
Under 10 minutes.
Wow, because that security area for Orlando in the middle is like never ending. It's huge.
Well, it's Terminal C, not a problem. I'm telling you right now, if you get a chance to fly into Terminal C, JetBlue is the only domestic that flies in there. I'm telling you. Or if you're an international guest and you're flying in, you're gonna fly in there. Like if you're flying like Air Canada, if you're flying like Emirates, if you're flying pretty much anything from Europe, you're going to fly in there. So because I think that's where they have all the customs now.
Oh, okay.
Is over there. They have a duty-free shop and stuff, which, whatever, that doesn't interest me, but yeah.
Did you see the Universal Studios shop with all the screens?
I did. It's underwhelming.
Okay.
Video does it better than in person.
So people listening, Universal Studios has a store where they have screens all over the ceiling and the walls, and a dragon flies in and blows fire.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to see that. I was there for 30 minutes and didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You didn't see it in a half an hour? How long was that loop?
I mean, I'm
surprised.
Standing outside of the store for a while looking at other stuff.
Yeah, but you would have noticed.
Yeah, correct. That's what I'm saying. And then I was in the store for probably 10, 15 minutes, didn't see it.
Wow.
It was good. It's small. The Disney store there is bigger, but marginally, not much bigger.
Okay.
The food options are phenomenal in that terminal too.
Good.
It's like actual food. So, but yeah, that's just what I wanted to add. But next week we'll be talking about the bad and the ugly of the trip, which there are some things, but they're not too negative. I just think
it's almost like a no before you go.
Yeah, it's important for you to know that we're not going to just sugarcoat it and make everybody think that everything's great about Disney all the time. So, but just like the ride I was on earlier this week, it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.